Debbie Siskowski, Living, Loving, Beach to Bay. It's that time when I check in with you all and bring you a new topic that I think is rather pertinent and relevant to anyone who is exploring coastal Delaware as a place to live, place to buy, place to invest, place to just browse, place to really think about whether this is somewhere you might want to call home. So would love to hear from you. Today's topic is coastal Delaware really affordable? We're going to talk about, we're going to compare. So consider clicking the subscribe button, consider reaching out to me. I'd love to chat with you one-on-one. I'd love to spend some more time. But most importantly, I would love to hear what you would like to know about coastal Delaware and what life is like for either a full-time resident, a part-time resident, a seasonal resident, a investment owner. That's what I do. I really, this is my topic du jour, and today it's all about, is it really affordable to live here? And we're going to talk about that. So we're really going to talk about it all. We're going to talk about housing costs. We're going to talk about transportation costs. We're going to talk about the cost of everyday goods and how does that compare. And here's a spoiler alert. Based on where you live today, you may be pleasantly surprised. If you are coming from an extraordinarily rural area or an area that maybe isn't as urban centric, you may, eyes may roll a little bit. You may say, oh, I didn't expect that. But most importantly, we're really going to talk about, is this really a hidden gem that everyone keeps talking about? Right now, Delaware is ranked in the top 5 for states to retire to. So if you are considering that, either today, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, you might want to be putting pen to paper and thinking about whether Delaware is the right place for you. Why is it? Why isn't it? So we're really going to take the deep dive in on all of those topics. So if you're considering coastal Delaware, the number one cost you may be thinking about is housing costs. And depending on where you're coming from, if you're coming from Philadelphia, if you're coming from DC, if you're coming from, the Richmond, Virginia area or one of the big cities, if you're coming from New York City, if you're coming from, some of the New England areas, you may be pleasantly surprised at the housing costs here in coastal Delaware. Now, like all housing costs, they have gone up. And Sussex County specifically, which is the county that I live in and do a lot of my business in, has certainly, the housing costs have gone up over the last, myriad of years. And we don't expect those housing costs to come down, although we do expect those housing costs to be more stable in the not too distant future. So again, we could run the gamut. If you're looking in Rehoboth Beach and you're looking in one of the, more interior communities of Rehoboth Beach, you can certainly get into a single family home, in the $600,000 range. If you want to be on the water, well, that is a completely different conversation. The same thing is true of Lewis, and there are many new home communities in Lewis where you can absolutely be in the door for the high 500s into the $600,000 price range. Stepping across the Indian River Bridge, and you've got Bethany Beach and Fenwick and all of the interior areas, whether it's Millville and Selbyville and Dagsboro. All of these areas have wonderful, existing homes or new construction homes that you're going to find in that range that I just spoke to. Obviously, beachfront properties with a lot of bells and whistles are certainly going to be more expensive, but there are a myriad of options for single-family homes, multifamily homes that are in that $500,000 to $700,000 range. So really all along the coastal areas. And there are also some unbelievable incentives and opportunities for that housing to, quite honestly, be in that range. Now, it goes without saying that Sussex County is literally ranked in the top 3 counties in the nation for the lowest property taxes. So, if you think about it, the property taxes that I'm paying today are approximately $1,100 a year. When I think about the home that I moved out of outside of Philadelphia 10 years ago, I was paying close to or more than 10 times that on an annual basis. So one of the big savings that people do enjoy in Sussex County is the property taxes. So if you think about that as a housing cost, while the housing may be slightly higher, what you will save in the long run with property taxes will more than overcome that for you. So again, just to recap, Washington, D.C., you're not going to get into a single family home for anywhere lower than the $700,000 to $900,000 range. In Philadelphia, you're certainly going to be slightly below DC, but certainly not significantly below that. And New York City, I believe there would have to be meaning a 1 million before that for most single family homes in New York City. Then when you think about the taxes, the same thing is true. I talked a little bit about the taxes in Pennsylvania and how much more significant they are than Delaware. For Washington, D.C., New York City, Maryland, all of the surrounding states, you're going to find property taxes that are 3, 4, 5 times or greater than what they are in Delaware. So that really is a huge piece of your housing expense, which is the number one expense that people should be considering when they determine, is the area that I'm moving to or considering moving to more affordable than where I am today. So cost of everyday living. So that's food, that's utilities, that's gas, that's transportation. Food, I would say it's going to be pretty similar to what you're going to find in those areas surrounding Delaware, whether it's DC, whether it's Maryland, whether it's Pennsylvania, whether it's New York, whether it's New Jersey. Slight difference, and not that there's tax on food, but there's tax on an awful lot of the other things that you buy to accompany the food. And I can tell you that, again, one of those benefits in Coastal Delaware, which is really true of the entire state, there's no sales tax. So again, if there's no sales tax, you're not paying any sales tax on any of the additional things that you need to go accompany the food that you're eating, okay? Then when it comes to utilities, and I think that this is again a moving kind of, I wouldn't say it's a target, but it's a moving number, because utilities have certainly risen pretty dramatically in the last year. But what I can tell you is there are several advantages here in Delaware. One is that in Sussex County, there is an electric co-op called the Delaware Electric Co-op. And it really is a utility that is not intended to be for profit. So really all of your electric usage that you use in your home, which is everything, it's everything that I'm using right here as I chat with you, all of that electricity is provided to the consumer based on what they use for almost a cost neutral, because the utility is not in the business of making a profit. And actually at the end of the year, if the co-op has any proceeds or profit, it's actually then divided back out to the co-op members. So that's an example. You're also going to find things like gas, natural gas, and all of those other necessary utilities. I wouldn't say they're fair traded, but they are on average slightly better here in Delaware than all of the surrounding areas. And then when it comes to the cost of transportation, this is not a state that is rich in toll highways. There are a couple of tolls on Route 1 as you head towards the northern part of the state. There, of course, is the toll to go over the Bay Bridge, and those are givens. But we do not have toll roads per se in Sussex County, so there's going to be some benefits there. And I think that that's all important to understand, because it's all part of what does it cost to live here. The other thing that I would say is that there are, I find that dining out and all of those things that I really enjoy, whether it's going out, whether it's going out for a cup of coffee, whether it's going out for dinner, whether it's going out for an adult libation, I find all of those costs to be more reasonable than some of the bigger metropolitan areas. And again, there's no sales tax. So anything that you do in an entertainment venue here in Coastal Delaware has no tax. So while tourism is the number 2 economic driver in all of Delaware, the number 1 economic driver is actually agriculture. Delaware is still a state that is rich in its agricultural heritage, contributes mightily to the success of the great state of Delaware. But tourism is number two. And what tourism does do is it can drive some costs up and have things fluctuate, et cetera. So, it's just given. It's when tourism is a big piece of your, state's revenue, there can be some secondary costs attributed to that. So I think that's important to understand as well. Final verdict, okay? And I hope that you've enjoyed all of this, and I hope that you consider subscribing or messaging me or maybe scheduling a Zoom call. You know how to reach me. All of my contact information is in the notes below the video. But most importantly, I hope that you're really gaining useful and important information from these videos that I'm pretty committed to dropping on a regular basis. So it's all about really having you, the consumer, know as much as you can about coastal Delaware when you're considering whether it's a huge change, like are you considering moving to Delaware? Are you considering an investment property? Are you considering a vacation property? Are you considering a long-time retirement property that is, years down the road, but you really want to gather all the information so you can make the absolute most informed decision? But really it rests with you. And when I'm going to kind of, again, try to summarize is coastal Delaware more affordable than where you live today? Well, that really is very subjective because it really starts with where do you live today? If you live in DC, absolutely. If you live in an urban area like Philadelphia or Metro New York, I absolutely believe it is. If you live in most of New Jersey, I believe coastal Delaware is a much more affordable, I also think it offers a better quality of life. But if you're coming from a rural area, if you're coming from rural Pennsylvania or rural Maryland or even upstate New York, other than I think it's going to be less expensive to heat your home here than it would in upstate New York, I can't guarantee that it's going to be less expensive. What I can guarantee is that it's going to be fabulous, that you're going to love living here. You're going to love the quality of life. You're going to love the more overall moderate weather. Yes, we've got some highs and lows, but for the most part, this is a 10, 11 month of the year outdoor area that you can really enjoy all of those outdoor activities 11 months of the year. So, the things that I can absolutely tell you, there's lowest property taxes. There's no sales tax. There's a lot of other tax benefits. And I do truly believe that you're going to find everyday life less expensive, less challenging, more rewarding, more enjoyable, small town community, great place to raise a family, great place to raise grandchildren, great place to take a run, great place to take a bike ride, a hike, go to the nature preserves, park yourself on the beach, put your toes in the sand, have an adult libation, have, whatever floats your boat, you can do here in Delaware. And I absolutely, you can believe you can do it less expensively, more money in your pocket, more money in your bank account, more money in your retirement, accounts, and all that is important to you. So some of it's subjective, some of it is, and then there's the subjective, thoughts of mine. But I absolutely know that I am enjoying life, and I am, financially thriving here in Delaware far more than I was in the other state that I had lived a good portion of my adult life in. So hope you've enjoyed it. Debbie, living, loving Beach to Bay. I live here, I play here, I work here, I thrive here, and I hope that you're inclined to consider doing the same.